Well, are you all enjoying the record-setting temperatures? Wow. 68 degrees they're calling for in February. Have you ever heard of such a thing? I'm not knocking it, but it's just awesome. And I don't know about you, but to me it makes me think about grilling outside. And we've done so twice already this week, and we may not be done during this warm spell. Now, these days we use a gas grill, but back in the starting days we used this bad boy right here. Anybody remember these times? Or still there? The charcoal grill. Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that, does it? The taste of food cooked on a charcoal grill. Well, when we think about grilling with charcoal, the first thing you have to do is to gather all the coals together to get them started. It's my understanding, the way I was taught, was you put them all in a pile or a pyramid, and then you douse it with an entire can of lighter fluid, right? Light a match and run like heck. Boom! Or get some of that matchlight stuff, and maybe that's a little more safe. Now you can, I learned this by process of elimination, you can start the coals all kind of laid out ready to grill, but what happens? It's a lot harder for them to catch fire and to get warm, right? When they come together with each other, that's when they tend to really catch fire and get the heat. They feed off each other, and they feed off something special that's within the middle of their midst. Now you can, I did some research for this sermon, you can go out and get one of these things, a cylinder, fancy guy that you put the coals in to start, and the vertical, and this helps them get light, and then you pull the trigger and they all dump out. I never got quite this fancy. My grandpa had something, an early version of this, the beta, it was called a Folgers can, all right? Remember those days? And the bottom was burnt out from using it over and over, but it didn't matter because it was the sides that held the coals. It was the vehicle that brought the coals together. So there's these fancy guys, there's Folgers cans, there's just piling them up in the pyramids. And it's a good analogy or metaphor for the Christian church, in that we oftentimes get caught up in thinking that these vehicles are the church. But in fact, it is these little dirty charcoals that represent each and every one of you. And it's a good representative of you. It's dirty, dusty, right? Has imperfections all over it. That's like our lives, is it not? They're dirty, dusty, filled with imperfections. But when we gather together as believing people, oh, the heat we can create. Oh, the things that we can do together that are a lot easier than when we're separated out. And metaphorically, we think about, some churches are big and fancy, right? Like this guy here. Some vehicles that these little gather these coals together. Some churches are old, burnt-out Folgers cans in the middle of nowhere, but it's where Christians gather. And then there's some emerging settings where we're piling up coals together and there is no container. People gathering together in homes and movie theaters and coffee shops and online communities and things we don't even know about yet. Emerging ministries where like-minded dirty coals are gathering together to feel something special and to get warm. The founder of the Methodist Church, which bore me, John Wesley, and his brother Chuck, John has a famous quote that I absolutely love. He said when he was reading Martin Luther, the founder of this denomination, when he was reading Martin Luther's words or on his commentary on Luther's book on the commentary on Romans, Wesley said, it was when I learned about the grace and the love of Jesus Christ, and nothing was my doing, but it was all God's doing, my heart was strangely warmed, Wesley said. He actually used the words, my heart was strangely warmed. And when we gather together, we feel that warmth sometimes, don't we? We feel that warmth. Paul, in his letter to the Corinthians that Marissa read for us today, talks about it, that Jesus is our foundation. And that no matter what receptacle we gather in, or if we use no receptacle at all, when we gather together as little dusty Christians, at the foundation of however and wherever we meet is Jesus Christ. He is that special something that's in the middle of it. He is the lighter fluid, right? That gives us our light and our heat. And something funny happens, when you take one of these little coals out of its pile and take it out on its own for a while, what happens to it? It'll be red hot for a little while. But after a while, it'll go cold and gray again, back to its original state, won't it? right? And this is us sometimes when we haven't been to church, we miss that sense of being with other coals, that sense of community. The research tells us that. Those who say they're tiring of the church and its ways, when they leave, they miss that sense of togetherness and being together. Well, here's an awesome thing. Here's a word of grace. If it's been a while since your coal has been gathered together with other coals and you feel dark and gray and dusty, if it's been months, years, heck, I've got a bag of charcoal probably somewhere in the garage since 1989, don't you? If you pile that back up in a pile and light a match, it'll catch fire again. It doesn't matter how long it's been away. It'll catch fire again. You know, I think of when we gather together, it's really something special. And I think it's really a way that's relevant. You know, we think about this church and gathering together. It's what makes us relevant. Gathering together of like-minded believers. I think of a book that some of us read called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And the genesis of the book is, the story behind it is the Iowa Hawkeye football team. Sorry, Michael, he's a big Gopher fan. The Iowa Hawkeye football team read it together before their miracle run when they went 12-0 in 2015. And Olson's theory is it's about a group of people doing the little things right every day, or doing the little things wrong, that'll either put you on the success curve or the failure curve over a long period of time. So it's not the big declarations that you might make that's going to change your life. It's the little daily decisions. Do I help this person today or do I not? You know, do I eat an apple or do I eat a cupcake? You know, do I work on paying off a debt or do I go deeper in debt? And throughout your life, you're going to kind of keep going, either making small decisions that will take you up or making small decisions that will take you down. But we're always moving up or down in life. And Olson talks about the law of association as we make our journey through life. It can help you. And the law of association says basically you're essentially the combination of your 5 closest human beings in your life. So if you stop and think about who are the 5 closest people in my life, for me, it'd be my mom, probably my dad, my wife, my best friend, and my closest coworker at work. I mean, if I look at those 5 people, I'm essentially the average of those 5 people, and you are too. It's funny how that works, isn't it? You're the same average about how much money they make. You average them together, that's probably your salary. There's how much health or decline of health they're in, their attitudes, if they're positive, if they're negative, right? Their ethics in the world, how they practice, whether they practice faith or not, that's you. And Olson said we can do ourselves a favor if we surround ourselves in our immediate circle with people that we want to be like. In other words, if you surround yourself with people who also like to come to church every now and then, that's going to rub off on you. And you're going to catch the fire of Christ. But the catch is, as Jesus warns us in today's gospel, is that as we start to expand our little circle to a wider circle, if we make it completely homogeneous, or people who are like-minded like us, then we're really missing out. And we're not building the kingdom that God intended. Because God intended a kingdom that we would include in our circle people that society won't include. The poor, the downtrodden, those seeking justice, those who can't find a home in other places. Those are the people that Christ challenged us to include as we grow in our circle. Because let's be honest, it's like this. When we take that little piece of coal out of the fire, this is you, right? And for a while, it's going to, like we said, stay red hot. But then if you want to get back, if you want to catch fire again, right, it's got to go back to the gathering. But when you take your little coal out, as if for a while, you take the heat and the light from that gathering out into the dark world. And Jesus is challenging you to think about who you're going to take that light and heat to. Who will you associate with? Right? And who will you bring the good news of Jesus Christ to? And you don't have to preach in one sermon. Just do those small acts of kindness that they need. And every now and then they may trail you back to the gathering, right? And Jesus says, that's okay. Be okay with it, folks. Because we're all different coals. And then you come out of that gathering, right? And you spread your light and heat. And then you go back and you come out. And this is the Christian life right here. Is this not? Amen? right? We gather together on Sunday, and then by about Tuesday, and that's why we come back for midweek worship, right? And then we go out again on Thursday. Oh, there's Friday night, and then I'm back for weekend worship, right? Is this not how life is? And we're called to bring our light and heat to others, and we're called to bring others back to us. And think about this. No two gatherings on any given worship service are the same. Wherever and how people gather. Think about this. The people that are here today, if we were to take attendance by name, and we were to compare it to last week, it'd be a completely different church. Because you all are different. There are different people here today that weren't here last week, and vice versa. And that's okay. The church is changing and growing and morphing, and as we're studying larger church concepts of where the vehicles are going, the vehicles are changing and growing, and that's okay. It's a good thing. I think of it this way. When I started serving you all 7 years ago, we bought a nice house off of Highway 30. And every day I would drive by a company called Yellow Book. Are you guys familiar with Yellow Book? They make the yellow pages that you recycle that shows up on your doorstep, every 6 months. At least we do. I know some of you use it. We don't. And I keep thinking to myself every day when I drive by this, how many more days am I going to drive by and Yellow Book is going to be in existence? And this is a terminal company. And sure enough, one day I drove by, the company was gone, and a new sign was there, Hibu, H-I-B-U. Well, it happened. What I discovered was when I talked to some people who work for the company is that Hibu is actually Yellow Book. The ranches are the same company. And Hibu makes the digital products that you and I, some of us, enjoy and that we go to. When we need phone numbers, we go online or we check our cell phone. We don't go to a paper book. But Yellow Book, the paper books that many people still use, is the cash cow that provides the funding for Hibu and their emerging markets. Does this make sense? Say yes. This is the Christian church today. We have this traditional way that we gather. And by traditional, I don't mean worship. I'm including contemporary worship we're doing right now. We have a traditional kind of way we've gathered and worshiped since the 1950s, the same way we've been the church, and that's going to continue. And that is going to provide the source, the funding, while we're doing these emerging methods of reaching people. And let's be honest, that the statistics show that 1 out of 3 millennials are unchurched. They have nothing to do with church. But there's some emerging contexts that are catching their interest. And there's some traditional contexts, quite frankly, that are catching their interest. And we need to support these, because someday the people who work inside of Yellow Book, now Hibu, tell me, they've all talked about it, that Yellow Book is going to go bye-bye. And Hibu will be all there is, and it'll be self-sufficient. Some are saying the same thing about the Christian church. The traditional ways and methods that we do things are going bye-bye. Now don't panic, not in your lifetimes, right? It may be 30, 50, 100 years down the road. We'll all be with Jesus when this all takes place. There will always be the traditional methods of church, right? And it will feed people, thank God. But there's some that say that that's going bye-bye. But thank God Jesus Christ is not going bye-bye. He is our foundation no matter how we gather or where we gather in these emerging models and beyond. I want to leave you with this. I'll take you all the way back to kind of the origins of this sermon series. Was one of the things that got the ball rolling was I went on sabbatical last summer away from ministry, and we went out to Colorado, and for 10 days studied intensively kind of the jarring statistics of the current church. And on about day 7 or 8, when I was just floored with negativity, with everything going on, I was like, oh my Lord, Jesus, come back now, we need you. A guy signed up for devotion who leads an old Folgers can, rusted out church somewhere in, Bumpkin, Nebraska. I thought, now what are we going to get from this guy, right? And oh, was I wrong. Because he gave the most powerful devotion I heard all that time out there. I literally went up to him afterwards and I gave him a hug. And I'm not a hugger. I was like, man, you hit it. And what he said, what he prayed for, I want to give you as our closing prayer today. He prayed and he said, Lord, you created it all. You gave us this church. The church is the bride of Christ. Help us, Lord, to be the ever-changing bride of Christ, to let go of methods that aren't working, to find out new ways that are reaching people, and to support those ministries. And then he said, Lord, but at the same time, help us to understand that we are married to the unchanging, unnatured bride, the groom of Jesus Christ. Amen.